The epic showdown, Trump versus Pelosi. 40 years of secrets exposed. Picture this, primetime TV, hot lights blazing down on a packed studio audience of 200 buzzing spectators. Cameras rolling from every angle, every major network broadcasting live. This wasn't just a debate, it was the confrontation America had been craving. Donald Trump versus Nancy Pelosi. No holds barred. Trump leaned into the microphone, his voice steady and sharp. Look, I've been watching you for 40 years. 40 years of failure. And you know what's amazing? What's truly incredible? You somehow got richer while your city got poorer. Exponentially richer. That's quite a trick. The crowd stirred. Nancy Pelosi sat just 10 feet away, her signature smirk in place. She'd strolled in first, exuding confidence after a week of dismissing Trump on every channel, calling him uninformed on CNN, mocking his grasp of government on MSNBC, laughing off the debate idea on The View. Big mistake. Huge. Trump arrived 5 minutes later. The room's energy shifted, like a storm rolling in. The audience felt it. The moderator felt it. Pelosi felt it. The moderator cleared his throat, fumbling into his opening remarks. Trump cut him off. Before we waste time with formalities, Nancy, I've got a quick question for you. He leaned forward, casual as old friends. How does someone who makes $174,000 a year, that's your salary, right? A government salary, how does that person end up worth $300 million? Seriously, I genuinely want to know the secret. Because that math doesn't math. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Laughter bubbled up. Pelosi's smile tightened, her hands gripping the armrests. The cameras caught every twitch. This was going to be a long night. The insider trading bombshell. Paul's psychic trades. Trump settled back, getting comfortable. Let's talk about your husband, Nancy. Paul Pelosi, great guy, I'm sure. Very successful, smart man, venture capitalist. And let me tell you something, Paul is the luckiest investor who has ever lived. I mean it, the luckiest. Nobody in the history of Wall Street has been this consistently, perfectly, unbelievably lucky. Chuckles from the audience. Trump was warming up. Better than Warren Buffett. And Warren's been doing this for 70 years. Better than every hedge fund manager on Wall Street. Better than Ray Dalio. Better than George Soros. Better than everyone who does this professionally, full-time, with massive research teams and computers and algorithms. Paul beats them all, from his house, while married to the Speaker of the House. Isn't that amazing? More laughter. Pelosi shifted uncomfortably. Now, Nancy is going to tell you, and I want you to listen to this, it's fascinating. She's going to tell you that she doesn't discuss her work with Paul. That's the official line. I don't talk to my husband about legislation. Okay, let's think about that. They've been married for what, 60 years? 60+ years. You live in the same house. You sleep in the same bed. You have dinner together. But you never talk about work? Never mention that big tech bill coming up for a vote? Never mention anything about the laws you're writing? In 60 years? He turned to the audience. They were hooked. Either they have the weirdest marriage in America, or Paul is psychic. Those are your only two options. Trump paused for effect, then dove in. Because, let me tell you what happened. This is a true story. Nancy can fact-check me on this. We'll wait. Pelosi avoided eye contact, shuffling papers. Paul makes a bet, a huge bet. We're talking millions of dollars, on a company that makes computer chips, the kind for artificial intelligence. You know, AI, the hot thing. Everyone wants these chips. Demand through the roof. He leaned forward, intense. Paul buys options. You know what options are? They're basically bets that let you control huge amounts of stock for less money. High risk, high reward. Paul buys options on tens of thousands of shares. Millions at stake. Massive position. He's betting these chips are going to skyrocket. The air hung heavy. And then, stay with me here, this is important. Right after Paul makes this bet, weeks later, Nancy brings a bill to the floor of the House. A big bill. $52 billion. $52 billion. With a B, all going to chip companies, subsidies, tax breaks, government money. Your money, federal money, all to the chip industry. Silence gripped the room. The bill passes. Nancy makes sure it passes. And suddenly, that company Paul bet on, the stock goes through the roof, way up. Massive gains. Paul's options are worth millions more than he paid. Millions! Trump shook his head in exaggerated disbelief. Now Nancy is going to say this is all coincidence, just lucky timing. Paul just happened to make this bet right before Nancy just happened to push through this law. Just happened. Nothing to see here, folks. Move along. Pelosi jumped in, sharp and defensive. Mr. Trump, my husband makes his own investment decisions. I have absolutely no involvement. Right before votes you control, Trump cut in smoothly. Right before legislation you schedule. Right before laws that affect the exact companies he's betting on. That's all just coincidence? I don't discuss pending legislation with, so he's psychic? That's what you're telling America? Your husband can predict the future? He just knows when to buy and when to sell? He just knows which bills will pass and which won't. Lucky guesses. Over and over and over again. The audience buzzed. Pelosi's face reddened. But Nancy, it's not just once. That's the thing. If it was once, maybe coincidence. But it's not once. It's every time. Every single time. Trump counted on his fingers. His signature move. Here's another one. Big tech company. NY's got legislation coming up. Antitrust case could really hurt the company. Bad news for shareholders. And what does Paul do? Weeks before it's announced, he sells. Sells tens of thousands of shares. Dumps the stock. And then, boom, antitrust lawsuit drops. Stock tanks. Paul already sold at the high price. How'd he know? Another finger. Another company. Same thing. Paul sells right before bad news. Right before announcements that tank the stock. He's out before it happens. Every single time. It's incredible. It's actually incredible. Another finger. Another company. This time he buys. Big purchase. And then Nancy pushes through favorable legislation. The stock goes up. Paul makes millions again. How many times is this now? How many perfectly timed trades? Pelosi tried to interrupt. Trump talked over her. And here's my favorite part. My absolute favorite part. There's an investment fund, a real fund. You can look it up. Registered with the SEC and everything. Professional fund. And you know what this fund's strategy is? He paused, building anticipation. They copy Paul's trades. That's it. That's the whole strategy. Whatever Paul Pelosi buys, they buy. Beepant. Whatever he sells, they sell. They just follow along. And you know what the ticker symbol is? The stock symbol? Take a guess. Someone shouted from the audience. Nance! Trump pointed. Exactly. Nancy. Your initials, Nancy. They literally named the fund after you. Because everyone knows. Everyone on Wall Street knows. If you want to make money, follow Nancy Pelosi's husband's trades, because somehow, magically, mysteriously, those trades always work out. The crowd grew loud, angry murmurs. Pelosi gripped her water glass, knuckles white. And this fund, this Nance Fund, you want to know how it performed last year? While regular Americans were watching their retirement accounts struggle? While hard-working people were losing money in the market? While your 401k was maybe making 10%, if you were lucky? Trump leaned close to the mic. This fund made over 50%, just by copying the trades of a man married to the Speaker of the House, the man who supposedly doesn't talk to his wife about her work, the psychic venture capitalist who just happens to nail every single trade. He sat back. The audience reacted. Boos, head shakes. But Nancy, I'm sure it's all legal, right? Technically legal. Because that's what you people do. You write the rules. You make sure you can do whatever you want. And then you tell us it's legal, even though everyone with half a brain knows exactly what's happening. Pelosi's voice strained. My husband has his own business, his own firm. He's been a successful investor for decades. Right. And it's just coincidence that his most successful years happen to be while you're Speaker of the House? While you control which bills come to the floor? While you decide what gets voted on and when? Just coincidence that his winners all benefit from your legislation? Just luck? This is a personal attack on my family. It's your record. These are your financial disclosures. You filed them. They're public. Everyone can see them. I'm just asking questions that every American wants to ask. Applause erupted. Pelosi looked around. No allies. She was alone. There's a senator, Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri. Good guy. He introduced a bill. You know what he called it originally? The Pelosi Act, Pelosi, preventing elected leaders from owning securities and investments. He literally named the anti-corruption bill after you. That's the point. That's how notorious this is. Trump shook his head. Disappointed dad energy. They had to rename it. Democrats wouldn't support it with your name on it. Too embarrassing. So they changed it to something else. But everyone knows. Everyone remembers. The anti-corruption bill was named after Nancy Pelosi. That's your legacy. Your name on a bill designed to stop the exact thing you're doing. Pelosi blinked rapidly, fighting anger, tears, both. So let me ask you one more time, Nancy, and I want you to think carefully before you answer, because America is watching. How does someone making $174,000 a year, and I know you get a little more as Speaker, maybe $200,000 total, how does that person end up with $300 million in assets? How does that happen through a government salary? Really? Silence. Pelosi opened her mouth. Nothing. She reached for her water, hand shaking. Cameras zoomed in. Everyone saw it. The math doesn't math, Nancy. That math has never worked. And now, tonight, everyone knows why. Everyone understands how you did it. You used your position, your access, your knowledge, your power. You traded on information that nobody else gets, information that could land a regular person in prison. But for you, for people like you, it's technically legal. Trump stood halfway, gesturing to the audience. These people pay taxes so you can write laws. And while you're writing those laws, your husband's getting rich betting on which laws will pass. That's the system. That's how it works. That's Nancy Pelosi's $300 million math. A slow clap started. It built. Pelosi sat frozen, unable to respond. San Francisco, in ruins, 37 years of failure. But Nancy, Trump said, settling back with a smile, you know what? The money, the insider trading, That's just the beginning. Let's talk about what you've done with all that money. Let's talk about how you live. Let's talk about your city, the city you've represented for 40 years. Let's talk about San Francisco. The crowd got louder. They knew what was coming. Pelosi's face paled. San Francisco, Trump drawled, letting the words hang. Loaded. Everyone knew what they meant now. Beautiful San Francisco. I remember when it was gorgeous. Truly gorgeous. The Golden Gate Bridge, Fisherman's Wharf, Lombard Street, cable cars, rice aroni, the San Francisco treat. Remember that commercial? Beautiful city, one of America's crown jewels. And you know what? Some people used to say it was the best city in the country. Not me. I'm a New York guy, always will be. But some people said it, and they weren't crazy for saying it. It was beautiful. He paused, letting the past tense sink in. Nancy's been representing San Francisco since when? 1987. That's almost 40 years. 37 years, to be exact. She's had this job longer than most people have been alive. Longer than most people work in their entire careers. 37 years in Congress, representing the same district, the same city. That's her city. That's Nancy's city. Trump looked directly at Pelosi. So, Nancy, after 37 years, how's it going? How's your city doing? Want to give us an update? Want to tell America about the great job you've done? Pelosi's jaw tightened. Everyone knew where this was going. I'll tell you how it's doing. It's doing terribly, horrifically, catastrophically. It's become, and I want to be clear, these aren't my words. I'm quoting news reports, even liberal news. It's become a public toilet. That's what they call it now. San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi's district. America's most expensive public toilet. Nervous laughter mixed with disgust. You've got people living in tents everywhere. Not a few unfortunate people down on their luck. Not a small population that you're working to help. Thousands. Tens of thousands. So many that the city stopped counting because the numbers were too embarrassing. They literally gave up counting because it was so bad. Trump's voice rose, building momentum. You've got human waste on the sidewalks, in the streets, on the curbs. Human waste. In one of the wealthiest cities on planet Earth. Parents walking with their children have to explain why that sidewalk smells like that. Why they can't play in that park. Why they have to cross the street to avoid that pile. In America. In 2026, in Nancy Pelosi's district. He let the image linger. There's a neighborhood, the Tenderloin. You know it, Nancy. Of course you do. It's in your district. They did a study, official study. And you know what they found? The Tenderloin has been the poopiest neighborhood in San Francisco for 3 years running. 3 years. Won the championship 3 times. They track human waste reports. Thousands of them, just in 1/4 of 1 year. Thousands, that's your district. Pelosi tried. The homeless crisis is a national... Stop! Trump's hand shot up. Don't do that. Don't tell me it's a national problem. You've had 37 years, Nancy. 37 years. At some point, it becomes your problem. At some point, you own it. Applause thundered. Trump waited. You want to talk national? Fine. Let's talk about the money. Because you love talking about money. You love spending money, especially other people's money. Let's talk about how much you've spent trying to fix this problem. Fingers up again. 1 year, you spent about $160 million, that's million with an M, on homelessness, on programs, on initiatives, on solutions. won $60 million. And you know what happened? Got worse. Problem got bigger. More tents, more people, more waste. Another finger. Okay, so next year you think, well, we didn't spend enough, need more money. So you spend $240 million, almost doubling it. $240 million. Your money, federal money, California money, taxpayer money. And what happened? Got worse. Even worse than before. Another finger. So then, you really go big. You spend $364 million. That's more money than most people will see in 100 lifetimes. More money than some countries have to spend. $364 million. Trump leaned forward, intense. And you know what happened? It got worse. The problem got worse. After spending enough money to build 50 schools, or 100 schools. After spending enough to fix every road in your city twice. After spending more than most major corporations make in profit, the problem got worse. He sat back, shaking his head. That's quite an achievement, Nancy. That's really something special. In the private sector, if you spent that much money and made things worse, you'd be fired immediately. They'd escort you out of the building. But in government, in Nancy Pelosi's government, you just ask for more money, more taxes, more spending, to make the problem even worse. The crowd seethed, furious now. Pelosi shrank in her chair. But here's my absolute favorite part. Sarcasm dripped. Nancy calls it an isolated situation. Isolated. I love that word. Like it's just one small area, one unfortunate neighborhood. The rest of the city is fine. Just this one little isolated situation. He played to the audience. The whole city is the situation. The entire city. Businesses are leaving. Companies are pulling out. There was a big conference. Oracle. You know Oracle? Huge tech company. They held their annual conference in San Francisco for years, brought thousands of people, hotels booked, restaurants packed, millions of dollars to the city every year. Pause for effect. They moved it to Las Vegas, said, no thank you, we're not going back to San Francisco. Cost the city $64 million. $64 million in revenue. Gone. Because even Oracle, even a massive corporation, said, this is too much. This is too dangerous. This is too disgusting. We're out. Pelosi's voice cracked. The challenges facing major urban centers across America are complex. Mental health, substance abuse, affordable housing. Oh, here we go. Trump threw his hands up. Complex challenges. Urban centers. Let me tell you something about urban centers, Nancy. I ran one, New York City. Rudy Giuliani ran it before me. We cleaned it up, took a city that was falling apart and made it work again, made it safe, made it beautiful. It can be done. You just have to want to do it. His voice hardened. You have to care about the people living there. You have to care about the families, the children, the businesses. You have to care about your city more than you care about your ideology. More than you care about being politically correct. More than you care about looking progressive. The crowd nodded, agreeing. Trump rolled on. You've got a district attorney there, Chesa Boudin. Remember him? You endorsed him. You supported him. You thought he was great. And you know what his policy was? He announced he wouldn't prosecute certain crimes. Living on the street? Not a crime. Using drugs publicly? Not a crime. Blocking sidewalks? Not a crime. Harassing people? Not a crime. Hands wide, incredulous. You basically legalized being a disaster. You made it okay. You made it accepted. You made it the norm. And then you act surprised when more people do it? when the problem grows, when your city becomes unlivable. You created this, Nancy. You and people like you. You own this. Someone shouted, "San Francisco values!" It caught on, a chant. "San Francisco values! San Francisco values!" The moderator tried to quiet them. Trump let it ride. "That's right. San Francisco values. And you know what the best part is? The absolute cherry on top?" Nancy said, and I quote, "These are your words, Nancy. You said you want America to have San Francisco values." The crowd went wild. Boos, shouts. Pelosi shook her head, trying to speak. Couldn't. "You literally said that. You want San Francisco values for America. Let me understand this. You want tents in every city? You want human waste on every street? You want crime everywhere? You want drugs sold openly? You want families afraid to walk outside? You want businesses fleeing? Those are San Francisco values. And you want that for the whole country?" Trump stood, gesturing broadly. "That's your vision. That's your America. 37 years of failure. $364 million wasted. One city destroyed. And you want to spread it nationwide. That's the plan." He sat, shaking his head sadly. "But Nancy, I get it, I understand. Because you don't live in that San Francisco. You don't live in the tents. You don't smell the waste. You don't see the needles. You live in a different San Francisco, don't you?" Pelosi's eyes widened. She knew. "You live in a mansion. A beautiful mansion in Pacific Heights. You know where Pacific Heights is? It's the nice part. The really, really nice part. Where the streets are clean, where there are no tents, where the property values are sky high, where you need security just to keep the riffraff out. That's where Nancy lives." Mocking tone. "How much is your house worth, Nancy? 25 million? 30 million? Hard to say exactly. Property records are funny like that. But it's worth a lot. It's beautiful. I'm sure it's gorgeous. Probably has a view of the bay, probably has a wine cellar. Definitely has walls and security." Voice hardened. "And you've got another place, a vineyard in Napa Valley. Wine country. How much is that worth? 6 million, 8 million, 10 million? Again, hard to say, but it's substantial. Acres and acres. Grapes. Wine. The good life. So while the people in your district are stepping over needles and waste, while they're afraid to let their kids play outside, while they're watching their businesses die and their neighborhoods collapse, while they're living in hell, you're living in paradise. You're in your mansion, drinking your wine from your vineyard, counting your $300 million. You're doing great. And that's what matters, right?" The crowd surged, some booing, some applauding, all angry, all energized. Pelosi looked ready to cry or scream or run. 37 years, Nancy. 37 years you've had this job. And your city is worse. Measurably, undeniably, catastrophically worse. But your bank account? Your bank account is much, much better. That math tracks. That math makes perfect sense. Trump pointed. You failed your city. You failed the people who trusted you. You failed the children growing up in that disaster. You failed everyone except yourself, and you got rich doing it. That's your San Francisco values. Get rich while everything burns. That's quite an achievement. Pelosi sat slumped, face red, hands shaking. The fight drained from her. But Trump wasn't done. The ice cream scandal. Luxury amid despair. But Nancy, at least you can relate to regular people, right? At least you understand what they're going through. At least you're one of them. Oh, wait, let's talk about that. Let's talk about April of 2020. Let's talk about the ice cream. The crowd went crazy. They remembered. Pelosi's face went white. April 2020, Trump said, soft storytelling mode. Does everyone remember April 2020? Of course you do. How could you forget? COVID pandemic, lockdowns, the entire world stopped. The economy crashed. In 1 month, just 1 month, 22 million Americans lost their jobs. 22 million. Think about that number. That's more than the population of Florida. Gone in 30 days. Pause for remembrance. The fear. Uncertainty. Desperation. Unemployment websites crashed because too many people were trying to file at once. The systems couldn't handle it. Food banks ran out of food. Grocery stores had empty shelves. People were scared, terrified. Parents didn't know how they'd feed their kids. Families didn't know how they'd make rent. The whole country was in crisis. Real crisis. Not political crisis. Human crisis. Trump's voice quieted. And Nancy Pelosi. She decided that was the perfect time to go on television and show America how she was dealing with these difficult times, how she was coping, how she was getting through it. He looked at Pelosi. She stared at the table. She went on a late-night show from her house during lockdown. And the host, nice guy, just doing his job, he says, "Show us something from your home. Show us how you're managing." And Nancy walks over to her kitchen and she shows everyone her refrigerators. Plural emphasized. Not one, two. These aren't normal refrigerators, folks. These are massive commercial grade. The kind you see in restaurants. Sub-Zero brand. You know what those cost? Anyone want to guess? He waited. $24,000 for 2 refrigerators. $24,000. Most people don't spend that much on a car. Nancy spent it on appliances to keep her food cold. But wait, it gets so much better. Building anticipation. She opens one up, slides out a drawer, and it's packed. Absolutely packed full of ice cream. Gourmet ice cream. Specialty ice cream. The kind you have to order from fancy catalogs. The kind that gets shipped overnight in special containers. $13 a pint. $14 a pint. Different flavors. Chocolate, more chocolate, even more chocolate. Other flavors for her family, she says. Shaking head, disbelief. And then, and this is real, these are her actual words. She says, "We all have found our ways to keep our spirits up during these trying times. Mine just happens to fill up my freezer. Let it hang." She posted this on Twitter, put it on her social media, voluntarily, proudly. She thought this was good. She thought this would make people like her. She thought this was relatable. Voice rising. Now let me paint you a picture of what else was happening that exact same day, that exact same moment. While Nancy was showing off her ice cream collection, while she was bragging about her $24,000 refrigerators, while she was making sure everyone knew she never runs out. Fingers up. Food banks had lines stretching for miles, actual miles. People waiting 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours in their cars, in the heat, just to get a box of food. Any food, whatever was available. Families who'd never needed help before. Families who always worked. Families who played by the rules. Waiting in line for charity. Another finger. Mothers were crying. Actually crying because they didn't know how to feed their children. They'd lost their jobs, lost their income, savings running out, pantries empty. And they had to look their kids in the eye and explain why there wasn't enough food, why dinner was smaller, why they couldn't have snacks. Another finger. Fathers were ashamed. Grown men, providers, unable to provide. Their businesses closed by government mandate. Their paychecks stopped. Their dignity shattered. Having to accept handouts. Having to take charity. Having to admit they couldn't support their families. Trump's voice shook with emotion. And Nancy Pelosi was showing off her ice cream. Her gourmet, 14 per pint, specially ordered, never-run-out ice cream. In her $24,000 refrigerators, in her $30 million mansion, while Americans starved. Pelosi pleaded weakly. I was trying to bring some levity to a difficult... Levity? Trump's voice boomed, the mic distorted. The audience jumped. You want to talk about levity? 22 million people lost everything. And you want to show off your ice cream collection? You want to brag about never running out while Americans are running out of everything? That's your idea of levity? The crowd erupted. Shouts, boos. They called you Nancy Antoinette. You know why? Marie Antoinette, the French queen. Let them eat cake when people were starving. Except your version was, let them eat $14 ice cream from $24,000 refrigerators while they starve. Let them watch. We never run out while they run out of everything. Pacing now, agitated. But you said something else. Something that really shows who you are, what you really think. You said, I have no concern. Remember that? I have no concern about the obvious investments that have been made. No concern. Of course you don't have concern, Nancy. You're worth $300 million. You don't run out. You never run out. You made sure of that. Contempt dripped. You got your ice cream restocked for Easter, you said. Made sure you had plenty. Your freezers full. Your pantries stocked. Your mansion comfortable. While American families were choosing between food and medicine. While kids were going hungry. While people were terrified. You never ran out. Desperate. This is taking my words completely out of context. The video is still up, Trump accused, pointing. Everyone can watch it. It's on the internet. You posted it. You put it out there. You were proud of it. You thought it made you look good. You thought Americans would see your ice cream and think, oh, she's just like us. Bitter laugh. You know what's relatable, Nancy. Worrying about money, losing your job, not knowing if you can pay rent, choosing between groceries and gas. That's relatable. That's what Americans deal with. You know what's not relatable? Having more ice cream in your freezer than most families have total food in their houses. Chant started. Let them eat ice cream. Trump let it build. Pelosi's knuckles white. Even Democrats cringed. Your own people. They couldn't defend it. They didn't want to talk about it. They cringed when reporters asked them. Because, how do you defend that? What do you say? Well, she really likes ice cream. She's going through a hard time, too. Everyone deserves a treat? No, you can't defend it because it's indefensible. It was obscene. It was disgusting. It was everything wrong with Washington in one 3-minute video. You're so rich, so removed, so disconnected from reality, so far up in your ivory tower that you thought this was normal. You thought this was okay. You thought this would help. Trump sat, exhausted from the outburst. 2 refrigerators that cost more than most people make in a year. Ice cream that costs more per pint than minimum wage workers make per hour. Posted proudly, happily, voluntarily. While America was on its knees, while people were suffering, while families were breaking, while the country was crying out for help. Whisper now. That's not leadership, Nancy. That's not compassion. That's not caring about people. That's not public service. That's Marie Antoinette in San Francisco. That's the ice cream oligarch. That's San Francisco values. Eruption. San Francisco values. San Francisco values. Louder. Angrier. Pelosi blinked back tears or rage. Cameras captured it all. Trump raised a hand. Silence fell. But Nancy, at least you follow the rules, right? At least you're consistent. At least you believe in the laws you pass. At least you follow them. Oh, wait. The hair salon hypocrisy. Rules for thee, not for me. Let's talk about the hair salon. Let's talk about August 2020. Pelosi's eyes widened. No, not that. But Trump had receipts. August 2020, still in lockdown, still in the middle of the pandemic, still in crisis mode. Everything's closed. Businesses shuttered. Americans suffering. Your lockdowns. By the way, your policies, you and Gavin Newsom. You both said, stay home, stay locked down. Businesses can't open. Too dangerous, too risky. Save lives. Flatten the curve. Trump eyed Pelosi. She braced. Salons were closed. Barber shops, hairdressers, all closed by law. Your law. If you tried to open, you'd be fined, maybe arrested. Your business license revoked. The full weight of the government would come down on you. Because Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom said so. Because public health. Because science. Pause. But Nancy needed her hair done. And not just any hair. That hair. The hair that requires professional maintenance. Weekly maintenance. Expensive maintenance. Hair that costs more per visit than most people spend on groceries. Rhetorical. So what did she do? They knew. She went to a salon that was legally closed, a salon that your policies forced to shut down, a salon owner who was losing everything because of your rules. And Nancy called her up, called her directly, and said, "Open for me, just me, I need my hair done." Angry murmurs. Trump fed it. And Nancy went, walked right in, indoors, no mask, got her hair washed, got it blown out, got it styled. Perfect hair. For the cameras, for the interviews, for the photo ops, where she'd tell everyone else to stay home and wear masks, while she broke every rule she was demanding everyone else follow. Pelosi, the salon owner, blamed the salon owner. That's my favorite part. This is the best part of the whole thing. You got caught on security cameras, security footage from the salon's own cameras, breaking your own rules, your own policies, your own laws. And when it came out, when the video was released, when America saw you breaking the rules, you blamed her. Standing, pacing. You said she set you up. Set you up. She set you up by, what? Having security cameras in her business? She set you up by letting you break the law? She set you up by documenting what you voluntarily did? Angry, bitter laughter. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. You shut down her business, your policies, your rules, your lockdowns. She can't work, can't earn money, can't pay her bills, can't support herself. Her life savings draining away, her business dying. Everything she built falling apart. Effect pause. Then you call her, you. Demand she open just for you. Special treatment. Rules don't apply to Nancy Pelosi. And she does it because what choice does she have? You're the Speaker of the House. You're powerful. You are connected. Who's she? Nobody. Just a small business owner trying to survive your lockdowns. Harder voice. So she opens. You come in, you break the law, on camera. And when she has the audacity, the absolute nerve, to have security footage of you breaking your own rules, she's the bad guy. She set you up. She's the problem. Pelosi shook her head. No words. You want to know what happened to her after she exposed you? After she showed America that you're a hypocrite? After she revealed that you make rules for everyone else but not yourself? Ominous drop. She got destroyed. Harassed, threatened, death threats, her business attacked, her reputation smeared, her life ruined. Democrats came after her, the media came after her, your supporters came after her. She had to close her business, had to leave San Francisco, had to start over somewhere else, all because she told the truth about you. Silent crowd, absorbing. That's what happens when you expose Nancy Pelosi. That's what happens when you show people who she really is. You get destroyed. Your life gets ruined. You become the victim instead of the hero. Because Nancy's powerful. Nancy's connected. Nancy's protected. And you're just a peasant. And peasants don't get to hold the queen accountable. Trump sat, intense. But it's not just the salon. Remember February 2000 team. Early COVID. Nobody knows what's happening. Scientists saying avoid crowds, keep distance, be careful. And what did you do, Nancy? What did you do in February when people were scared? Pelosi's eyes closed. You threw a party in Chinatown in San Francisco, a publicity stunt, a photo op. You gathered crowds. You encouraged people to come out, to gather together, to congregate. Come to Chinatown, you said. It's perfectly safe, you said. Support local businesses, you said. Shake head. You wanted to prove you weren't racist. Wanted to show you cared about the Chinese community. So you encouraged exactly what you would spend the next 2 years punishing everyone else for doing. You wanted the photo. You wanted the press. You wanted to look good. So you put people at risk. Rising voice. Then, 3 weeks later, you're screaming about lockdowns, about staying home, about social distancing, about masks, about restrictions. Everything you encouraged in February, you criminalized in March. But it was different when you did it. It was okay when it helped you politically. Rules for thee, but not for me. Chant. Rules for thee, not for me. Rules for thee, not for me. Trump let it build. Pelosi wanted to vanish. You encouraged crowds when it was politically convenient. Then you demanded lockdowns when it was politically convenient. Then you broke those lockdowns when it was personally convenient. Then you destroyed anyone who exposed you. That's your COVID record. That's your leadership. That's your integrity. Directly at her. You are a hypocrite. The definition of a hypocrite. Rules for everyone else. Special treatment for yourself. And God help anyone who points it out. God help anyone who tells the truth. They'll be destroyed. Just ask that salon owner. Slumped shoulders. Weak voice. This is all. These are personal attacks. You're twisting. I'm reading your record. Boom. These are things you did on camera, in public, with witnesses. This isn't attacks. This is your life. This is who you are. This is what you've done. Standing ovation. Cheers, headshakes. All done with Pelosi. Impeachment. Fiascos. Twice the failure. Trump raised a hand. Quiet. But Nancy, at least when you make rules, at least when you pass laws, at least you make good decisions, at least your judgment is sound, at least you're right. Oh, wait. No. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the 2 times you tried to remove me from office. Let's talk about your impeachment failures. Pelosi's head snapped up, eyes wide. Trump casual, like discussing weather. You impeached me twice, 2 times. I am the most impeached president in American history. You did that, Nancy. That's your accomplishment. That's your legacy. You impeached a sitting president. Not once, but twice made history. Got your name in the books. Your moment in the spotlight. Sink in. And you know what happened? Both times you lost. Both times I'm still here. You're sitting across from me. Your impeachments failed. Both of them. That's quite an achievement. 2 for 2. Perfect record of failure. Pelosi tried. Trump didn't let her. The Senate did their job. They looked at your evidence, examined your case, listened to your arguments, studied your months of investigation, reviewed the millions of dollars you spent, and they said no. Not once. Twice. They said no twice. Even some Democrats voted with me. Even your own party didn't believe you. Mocking. The first one was what? Ukraine. A perfect phone call. I talked to the president of Ukraine. Perfectly appropriate conversation. But you didn't like it. So you spent how long investigating? Months. How much money? Millions. How many witnesses? Dozens. All to prove what exactly? Hands spread confused. That I asked about Biden's corruption, which was real, which was documented, which everyone knew about. That was the impeachable offense, asking about actual corruption. And the Senate said, no, not guilty, acquitted. Your first failure. The abuse of power was, the Senate disagreed. A majority of senators disagreed. Even Democrats disagreed. You failed. Move on to the second one. Leaned back. January 6th, the second impeachment. And this one? This one was special. You know why? Because you didn't even investigate. Didn't even pretend to do due process. Just impeached. Boom. Done. One day. That's all it took. Fastest impeachment in history. No investigation, no witnesses, no defense. Just rage. Harder. You were so angry, so desperate, so determined. You rushed it through in one day. One day. The House of Representatives impeached a president in 24 hours. No investigation, no committee work, no fact-finding. Just hatred. Just politics. Just revenge. Pointed. And you know what the Senate said? No. Again. Not guilty. Again. Acquitted again. Your second failure. 2 impeachments. 2 failures. Millions of dollars wasted. Months of time wasted. 2 giant embarrassments on the national pace. But let's talk about January 6th for a minute, since you brought it up, since you made it the centerpiece of your second impeachment. Let's talk about who was actually responsible for security that day. Let's talk about whose job it was to protect the Capitol. Pelosi paled. As Speaker of the House, who's in charge of Capitol security? Who controls the Capitol Police? Who makes decisions about staffing and resources and preparation? Take your time, Nancy. I'll wait. Dead silence. You, the Speaker of the House. Capitol security is your responsibility, your job, your duty. And you know what? Days before January 6th, I offered help. National Guard, thousands of troops, standing by, ready to go, just in case, just to be safe. You know what you said? Build. No, you said no. You rejected the offer, turned down the help. Your decision, your call. I offered security. You declined. That's documented. That's on the record. That's not opinion. That's fact. Rising. Then January 6th happens. The Capitol Police are understaffed, overwhelmed, unprepared. Security fails. The building is breached. It's chaos. It's a disaster. And whose fault is that? Who was responsible for security? Who turned down reinforcements? Pointed at Pelosi. You. You were responsible. You made the decisions. You had the authority. You rejected the help. The security failure was yours, not mine. Yours. Shaking voice. That's exactly how it works. You're the speaker. Capitol security is your responsibility. It's literally your job. You can't just ignore that because it's inconvenient. You can't just pretend you have no accountability. Roaring crowd, on feet. Moderator gave up. So let me understand this. You're responsible for security. You reject offers of help. Security fails. The Capitol is breached. And somehow, this is all my fault? I get impeached for your security failure? I get blamed for your incompetence? Contemptuous laugh. And then you rush through an impeachment in one day. No investigation into what really happened. No examination of who was responsible. No accountability for anyone except me. Just impeach Trump and hope nobody asks too many questions about your failures. Sat down, serious. But the Senate did ask questions. The Senate did look at the facts. And the Senate said no. Not guilty. Again. Because they could see what you were doing. They could see the political theater. They could see the revenge impeachment. They could see through you. Pelosi barely responded. Beaten down. Nothing left. 2 impeachments, Nancy. 2 failures. And you know how much money you wasted? How many millions of taxpayer dollars you spent on your political revenge, on your hatred, on your attempts to undo an election? Shake head. Millions and millions and millions, while Americans needed COVID relief, while people needed unemployment benefits, while businesses needed help, while families needed support. You were spending millions trying to destroy me, trying to overturn the will of the voters, trying to remove a democratically elected president because you didn't like him. Quiet. Dangerous. That's not democracy, Nancy. That's not the Constitution. That's not serving your constituents. That's serving yourself, your ego, your hatred, your lust for power. You wasted months. You wasted millions. You wasted everyone's time. And you failed. Twice. Slow clap built. The room applauded. Against her. Cameras on her face. Defeat. Total defeat. The legacy. A career in ruins. Trump let it go, then silenced them. But Nancy, I want you to think about something. Really think about it. I want you to think about your career, your legacy, what you've accomplished, what you'll be remembered for. Soft. Reflective. 37 years in Congress, 37 years representing San Francisco, making laws, spending taxpayer money, wielding power. That's longer than most people work in their entire lives, longer than most careers last. You've been in Washington since 1987. Think about that. 1987. That's almost 4 decades. Sink in. In those 37 years, what happened to your city? What happened to San Francisco? It got worse every year. Measurably. Statistically. Undeniably worse. More homeless every year. More crime every year. More problems every year. You spent hundreds of millions of dollars, other people's money. And it got worse. That's not opinion. That's fact. That's your record. Silence spoke. In those same 37 years, what happened to you? What happened to Nancy Pelosi? You got richer, dramatically richer, from a $100,000 salary to $300 million in assets. That's a lot of wealth, Nancy. That's generational wealth. That's dynasty wealth from a government salary. Directly, the math doesn't math. We established that at the beginning. Remember? The math doesn't work. It never worked unless you were using your position, unless you were using your access, unless you were using your knowledge, unless you were using your power to enrich yourself while your city burned. Pelosi stared down. And when Americans were suffering, when they lost jobs, when they lost homes, when they lost hope, what did you do? You showed them your ice cream, your $24,000 refrigerators, your mansion, your vineyard, your wealth. You showed them that you're fine, you're thriving, you're doing great while they're dying, hardened. That's not service. That's not leadership. That's not caring about people. That's using people. That's exploiting people. That's getting rich off the suffering of the people you're supposed to represent. Stood. This the closer. You made rules you didn't follow. You broke laws you demanded others obey. You destroyed anyone who exposed you. You wasted millions on failed impeachments. You let your city rot while you got wealthy. You showed off your luxury while Americans starved. You blamed others for your failures. You took no accountability for your actions. Rising. That's Nancy Pelosi. That's your record. That's your legacy. That's what history will remember. Not the first female speaker, not the powerful leader, not the champion of the people. They'll remember the ice cream oligarch. They'll remember the corrupt politician who got rich while her city burned. They'll remember San Francisco values. Eruption, standing ovation. Chant. Nancy Antoinette, Nancy Antoinette. Moderator tried wrap-up. Nobody listened. Trump walked off, said what he came to say, done what he came to do, destroyed who he came to destroy. Pelosi frozen. Cameras zoomed. The defeat, the humiliation, the exposure. The end. The ice cream oligarch had melted completely. The aftermath. A political earthquake. The video went viral before Trump left the building. Within 30 minutes, 1 million views. Within an hour, 10 million. By morning, over 50 million. By week's end, crossed 100 million. Every news outlet covered it. Fox looped it. CNN tried spin, gave up. MSNBC called it contentious exchange, like calling a nuke a firecracker. Even international, BBC, Al Jazeera. Nancy Antoinette trended 101 on X, formerly Twitter, for 3 days, 72 hours of mockery. Ice cream video resurfaced, salon footage everywhere. Nance fund a household term. Pelosi's office, midnight statement. 3 paragraphs of defense nobody read, fewer believed. Her spokesman on CNN walked off after 4 minutes. Democratic leadership emergency meeting. Pelosi not invited. Planning post-Pelosi. Old guard out. New blood in. Republican ads cut by lunch. Nancy's math slogan. San Francisco values warning. Clips backbone of attacks coast to coast. Betting markets shifted. Republicans +5 in generics. Dems in swings underwater. 3 congressmen nixed re-election with her endorsement. 2 canceled appearances. Exodus begun. Late night. Colbert, Kimmel tried soften, failed. Audience new. Real impact. Regular people. Maria Chen, boutique owner, 23 years. I watched in my living room, felt sick. 30 years I voted for her. Believed she cared. My business closed in COVID, her lockdowns, lost everything. Saw her hair done while mine padlocked. She blamed the owner. Realized she never cared. Marcus Williams, ex-homeless. System she built almost killed me. Watched friends die. Spent millions. Nothing changed. We were more valuable suffering. Useful broken. That's San Francisco values. Jennifer Park, ICU nurse. Can't watch ice cream video. Remember those days? Running out of masks, gloves, rationing, people dying. She bragged about never running out. Trump right to destroy her. Someone had to. Earthquake immediate. Stock trading ban bill moved. Passed committee 9-6. 3 Dems flipped. House ethics. Formal probe into congressional trading. No names, everyone knew. 3 Dem congressmen. No campaigns with Pelosi. Cancelled fundraisers, photo ops, endorsements. Local issues. Translation, poison. Polling brutal. 67% ban congressional trading. 74% believe Pelosi insider traded. 81% say out of touch. 59% want resignation. Favorables, 18 overall, 15 Dems, 22 Indies. Own party abandoning. GOP enthusiasm spiked. Registration plus 12% swings. Donations plus 40%. Grassroots 2016 levels. Villain found. Trump did in 60 minutes what impeachments, attacks, scandals couldn't. Exposed her. In San Francisco, day recall signatures flood. Restore order, accountability. City council emergencies. New homelessness policies. Mandatory treatment. Enforcement. Compassion without accountability failed. No name, needed none. Oracle. Consider conference return if changes made. Big if, but something. Business owners lawsuit. Unequal lockdowns. Salon footage, Exhibit A. Pelosi named 17 times. Pelosi hiding. Cancelled 3 TV. Declined 4 interviews. Stopped calls. Legislative priorities. Nobody bought. Staff quit. Deputy Chief, Comms Director, Policy Advisor. Then flood, half gone in week. New opportunities and/or can't defend anymore. One interview, MSNBC, friendly. Went worse. Understand why upset. Misinformation. But your words, videos, disclosures. Defensive, angry, pointed at camera, repeating Republican talking points. Walked off 6 minutes in. Leaked viral. Progressive caucus meeting. No Pelosi. Post-era planning. New leadership. Retirement whispers. Anonymous sources. Done. Exhausted. Broken. One more term. Then mansion, vineyard, $300. Pretend never happened. But internet forgets nothing. Video forever. Ice cream oligarch. Disaster. Impeachments. Trading. Salon. Nancy Antoinette. Trump's closer. Title of articles, posts, conversations. The math doesn't math, Nancy. It never did. And now everyone knows why. Simple. Devastating. True. 8 words haunting her forever. Ice cream oligarch melted. No rebuild. The interview did what 2 impeachments couldn't. What decades of attacks hadn't. What scandals failed. Showed America who Nancy Pelosi was. What she'd done. How. Why away so long. But no more. Trump exposed. Systematically, ruthlessly, with her record, words, actions. America watched. Saw everything. System broken. Pelosi proof. Now everyone knows. You just watched history. 40 years. Exposed in 60 minutes. You just watched 40 years of corruption exposed in 60 minutes. 40 years of failure. 40 years of getting rich while Americans got poorer. All laid bare on national television. This is what happens when politicians forget who they work for, when they think they're above the law, when they believe rules don't apply, when they get comfortable, arrogant, sloppy. Nancy Pelosi made a career out of serving herself while claiming to serve you. $300 million on government salary. City collapsed in luxury. Ice cream flaunted while jobs lost. Rules broken she enforced. Millions wasted on revenge. No accountability. Thought forever getaway. Thought no call-out. Media protect. Power untouchable. Wrong. Trump exposed. With facts, evidence, her record. No spin, no theories. Truth. Her truth. Truth, 7 years hidden. Share this. Everyone see. Understand system. They rich, we poor. Rules they don't follow. Serve selves, claim us. Want more, held accountable? Subscribe. Comment. Who next? Who exposed? Who lying? Nancy not alone. Most obvious, blatant, arrogant. Dozens more, hundreds. Rich off insider. Mansions while districts crumble. Rules for you, not them. Just beginning. First domino. First exposure. First reckoning. More coming. Many more. America done lied to. Robbed. Told shut up. Take it. Math doesn't math. Now everyone's doing math on all. See you next.